Whatever your opinion on Trump ordering the killing of Soleimani, I think we can all agree that the most cringe thing to come out of it was the avalanche of normie-tier World War III memes. Within minutes of the attack, thousands upon thousands of Twitter users who spend 90% of their time whining about gender pronouns suddenly became Middle Eastern geopolitical experts. They suddenly gave a shit about a man, Soleimani, who 10 seconds previously they'd literally never heard of. Accompanying the relentless, impassioned, hysterical drivel about the immediate onset of a new world war were a multitude of inane, insipid memes. World War III causes a worldwide nuclear apocalypse. Me who say bottle caps for years. Trump. Siri, play 99 Love Balloons by Nina. Siri, okay, sending 99 atom bombs to Iran. Germany realizing they are not guilty of this world war. How snap maps be looking after the draft. Not every act of military aggression means World War III is about to start. Just because Trump tweets insults at the Ayatollah or Kim Jong-un doesn't mean the next time you look out the window you're going to see an apocalyptic wasteland where your local Walmart once stood. But it wasn't just a meme. The Selective Service website actually crashed because a deluge of millennials were Googling how to avoid the draft in the event of World War III. In the US, although there hasn't been a draft since 1973, all men ages 18 to 25 are required by law to provide basic personal information to the Selective Service system. Not doing so is illegal. The Selective Service then had to remind people that new legislation would have to be passed to reinstate the draft. The US, we are considering adding women to the draft. Me, call me old-fashioned, but yes, I was raised to serve my husband, cook for him, do the laundry, wake up at the crack of dawn to make him breakfast, prepare his clothes and clean the house. If World War III is coming up and women want equal rights so bad, maybe we should start drafting them too. Me and the girls. See, this is why we need to go to war. Iran in 1973. Iran in 2019. Public library in Iran versus public library in USA. But seriously, how are people who have emotional breakdowns over pronouns not being respected going to behave if a world war breaks out? I mean, some of these idiots have near panic attacks when Twitter goes down for 10 minutes. How are they going to respond if an Iranian cyber attack takes down the entire internet for a few hours? When grown men wet themselves over a Millennium Falcon toy, how are they going to cope with the altogether different form of excitement of Chinese and Russian nukes obliterating US cities? Another cringe fest was the sight of people who've never even been near a war, would never even dream of enlisting, getting all excited over war.
Let's do to Tehran what we did to Dresden. Light it up and burn it down. Let's make Tehran a memory.
Ooh. You're hard.
When in reality, they would shit their pants if a car backfired. Unless you've driven over an IED or faced an armed ambush, don't be so blasé about it. Also, quick question, why was Israel told about the attack on Soleimani beforehand, but the UK, America's greatest ally, was told nothing?
Siri, who is President of the United States of America?
Benjamin Netanyahu is the President of the United States.
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
But here's what really gets to me. It is possible to be against Middle Eastern intervention and escalation with Iran without fawning all over a dead terrorist in a country that routinely massacres its own people. There really should be a centre ground between siding with warmongering, bloodthirsty neocons and siding with people who literally chant death to America in their own parliament. New York Times journalist sad posting over Soleimani's death by showcasing his poetry, saying he was universally admired. This is a guy who helped kill 600 plus US soldiers. He maimed and injured thousands more. This is a guy who commanded the slaughter of thousands of Iraqi and Syrian civilians. Why do you think people in Baghdad and Idlib were dancing in the streets at the news of his death? This is a guy who, according to experts, was as responsible for creating the material conditions ISIS needed to flourish as Bush's disastrous invasion of Iraq did, purely because of his absolute brutality. This is a guy who oversaw an attempted terrorist attack on US soil. He was the mastermind behind numerous terror plots in Kenya, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and across the world. Plots which included the deliberate targeting of airports inside America and Canada. This is not a good guy.
We are outraged the president would assassinate a foreign official.
Yeah, were you outraged when Obama announced the assassination of Osama bin Laden? Was he a foreign official? Does the fact that Soleimani orchestrated his reign of terror under the auspices of a state somehow make it okay? Oh, but Soleimani's just a humble poet, and Iran is the victim here. The same people who try to cancel celebrities for decade-old homophobic tweets are out on the streets protesting in favour of a regime that has literally tortured and executed thousands of gay people. This is a regime that slaughtered hundreds of their own people on the street just last month. This is a regime that has disappeared and executed thousands of political dissidents in secret. But they're lecturing Trump for threatening war crimes over a tweet. Give me strength. A quick reminder, if Iran ruled the world, and yes, they want to, you wouldn't be reading this. You'd be in the mosque 5 times a day or in prison somewhere around the 14th century. Hope this helps. And no, that doesn't mean we should invade Iran. But Iran is an absolute shithole with about as much regard for human rights as Ted Bundy had for female empowerment. You can oppose a war without worshipping a brutal Islamic theocracy. If you hated ISIS and Baghdadi, then you should hate Soleimani too, because he ordered atrocities on a par with ISIS and Baghdadi. And I get people with legitimate concerns about escalating tensions and further Middle Eastern intervention. But an Iranian flag in your Twitter profile, that's as cringe as putting your gender pronouns in there. That's like putting an ISIS flag in your profile to mourn the death of Baghdadi. Only a fucking idiot would worship the flag of a country that in just the space of a few weeks alone extrajudicially tortured and executed 5,000 political dissidents. It doesn't make you edgy, it just makes you a dick. Were you one of those idiots who changed their Facebook profile pic to a French, Belgian or British flag every time there was an ISIS terror attack? What does it even achieve? Thank you to all the brave Americans who are standing with the glorious Islamic Republic of Iran during this trying time. We never had anywhere near this support back in 1979 and are grateful that you realize that hanging gays and killing women is superior to Western ideals.
There is nothing new about American terrorist attacks against black and brown people for the expansion of American imperialism.
The guy you're talking about oversaw the murder of thousands of black and brown people throughout the Middle East. Bruh. Was Trump's missile strike really an escalation? Was it an act of war? Or was it a response to the escalations and acts of war already carried out by the Iranians? Iran had already attacked a UK ship and kidnapped its sailors in the Strait of Hormuz. They shut down half of Saudi Arabia's oil production by attacking the Aramco oil processing facility with drones. They shot down an American drone with an air-to-surface missile. They killed a US civilian contractor and wounded 4 US servicemen by attacking an Iraqi military base. They ordered paramilitary groups to storm the US embassy. And then they taunted Trump on Twitter by telling him he couldn't do anything about it. Was any of that escalation? Was any of that provocation? What was Trump supposed to do? Send them pallets of cash like Obama did? The same people savaging Trump for doing nothing in response to Iran's provocation are now crucifying him for doing something in response to Iran's provocation. Again, you can be anti-Middle Eastern intervention without being some kind of cliched pacifist. If someone's whacking you in the head over and over again, you don't just stand there and take it, you whack them back. But that doesn't mean there isn't a fundamental hypocrisy at play here. Over the past few days, we've heard so much about the threat Iran and Soleimani posed to American lives. If only there was a similar level of concern about threats to American lives far closer to home.
Yes, Soleimani was linked to the deaths of Americans. Nobody mourns his passing. But Mexico and China are also linked to the deaths of Americans. Each has flooded our country with narcotics, from which tens of thousands of Americans die every single year. Not that anyone in power cares.
It's absolutely crucial for you to help me fight the war on free speech by supporting me via Subscribe Star, link in description, and also signing up for my free newsletter at summit.news/newsletter.